You think you know this animal. You've seen it hunt in packs, seen it roar at the sky, seen it chase jeeps through the rain. Almost none of it is true. The real Tyrannosaurus rex didn't need Hollywood. It needed 9 tons of bite force, eyesight sharper than an eagle's, and a sense of smell that could catch blood from miles downwind. For 2 million years, it ruled an entire continent, not as a myth, but as one of the most perfectly evolved killing machines the Earth has ever produced. Tonight, we separate the fossil from the fiction. Let's start with the myth that won't die, the chase, the roar. The idea that if a T-Rex wanted you dead, you'd never outrun it. Here's the problem. That scene is physically impossible. This animal weighed as much as a city bus. 9 tons of bone and muscle balanced on 2 legs. Biomechanics researchers have modeled its skeleton down to the load-bearing limits of a single leg bone. Their conclusion: push this animal past about 12 miles an hour, and its own legs would have shattered under the force. A brisk jog on a bicycle would leave it in the dust. So no, it was never going to catch your Jeep. But that doesn't mean it wasn't a threat. It meant it hunted differently than we imagined. Now, the roar. That sound belongs to mammals. Lungs, throats, vocal cords built a certain way. Tyrannosaurus was closer to a bird, and its closest living relatives, alligators, cassowaries, don't roar at all. They rumble, a closed-mouth vibration so low you don't hear it. You feel it, in your chest, in the ground beneath your feet. Some scientists believe T-Rex never announced itself at all. It simply arrived. And the hunt itself. Forget the pack of raptors working in coordinated tactical formation. There's only fragmentary evidence T-Rex hunted in groups at all, and even that is fiercely debated among paleontologists. What we do know comes from the bones themselves, bite marks on prey, broken and healed teeth, evidence not of a chase, but of an ambush, patience, position, the element of surprise. This wasn't a monster that chased its prey across miles of jungle. It was a predator that let you walk right past it. So if the movies got the speed wrong, and the roar wrong, and the hunt wrong, what did Tyrannosaurus rex actually look like? That's where the real story begins. Strip away the myth, and what's left isn't smaller, it isn't safer, it's stranger, and far more dangerous than fiction ever imagined. This is Tyrannosaurus rex. Not a lizard, not a monster, a predator refined by 90 million years of trial and error into something close to perfect. Start with the eyes. Look at their position, not on the sides of the skull, like most reptiles. Forward-facing, just like yours. That overlap creates binocular vision, depth perception precise enough to track a moving target from hundreds of feet away. Researchers who modeled its visual acuity found something remarkable: sharper depth perception than a modern hawk. Sharp enough, by some estimates, to resolve detail from over 3.5 miles away. It didn't need to get close to find you, it just needed to look. And if sight failed, there was always this. CT scans of T-Rex skulls reveal massive olfactory bulbs, the largest relative to brain size of almost any predator we've ever studied. Comparable, some researchers argue, to the scenting power of a modern turkey vulture. A carcass on the wind miles away was an invitation. It didn't have to hunt everything it ate. Sometimes it simply followed its nose to a meal already made. But it's this that made Tyrannosaurus infamous. 12,000 pounds of bite force. To put that into perspective, more than 5 times the bite of a great white shark. Enough force per square inch to crush solid bone as easily as we'd bite through bread. And this wasn't incidental. Paleontologists have found fossilized dung, coprolite, packed with crushed bone fragments. Proof this animal wasn't just tearing flesh. It was eating its prey whole, skeleton and all. But here's where the science gets genuinely uncertain, and where the picture in your head is probably wrong either way. For decades, popular culture gave us a scaled reptilian tyrant. Then, in the early 2000s, a wave of small, feathered tyrannosaur relatives, like Uterannus, nearly 40 feet long and covered in shaggy proto-feathers, suggested the T-Rex itself might have been feathered too. Then direct skin impressions were found from the tail, the hips, the neck. And they tell a different story: scaled skin. At least across the parts of the body we've actually found preserved. Does that rule out feathers entirely? Not necessarily. Its ancestors had them. Some scientists still argue for a sparse feathered crest along the back, hidden from the fossil record simply by bad luck and geology. The honest answer is we don't fully know. And that uncertainty is what makes paleontology a living science, not a settled one. Vision sharper than a hawk, a nose that could smell death for miles, a bite that could end an argument in one motion. This was never a movie monster. It was something better. It was real. This was a good day, as far as Tyrannosaurus rex could tell. Somewhere in what is now North America, 66 million years ago, a Tyrannosaurus walked through the last ordinary afternoon its species would ever know. It had no way of knowing it was already over, because 6 hours earlier, in 2,000 miles away, something entered the atmosphere that the planet had not seen in over 100 million years. An asteroid roughly the size of Mount Everest, traveling at 45,000 miles an hour. It struck the shallow seas off the coast of what is now Mexico with the force of 10 billion Hiroshima bombs. The Chicxulub impact, the single worst day in the 4 billion year history of life on this planet. 2,000 miles from ground zero, our Tyrannosaurus wouldn't have heard the impact. Not yet, but it would have felt the ground move first, and then the sky itself would have started to burn. It didn't matter how sharp its eyes were, how far it could smell. 12,000 pounds of bite force meant nothing against this. What happened next unfolded not in an instant, but in stages, each one worse than the last. Within hours, the falling debris superheated the atmosphere across entire continents, igniting wildfires on a scale the Earth had never recorded. Within days, ash and sulfur choked the sky. Sunlight, the very engine of life on Earth, was cut off. Photosynthesis collapsed. Plants died first, then the herbivores that depended on them, and then, inevitably, the predators that depended on them. Global temperatures swung violently. First, a scorching heat pulse, then years of open cold. Some estimates suggest a decade or more before sunlight fully returned to pre-impact levels. 75% of all species on Earth were gone, not because they were weak, not because they'd failed at evolution, simply because nothing on Earth, before or since, had ever been built to survive a mountain falling out of the sky. And that should have been the end of the story. 66 million years of silence. No memory, no witnesses. And yet, here we are, of every creature that has ever lived on this planet. And there have been billions of species. This is the one we can't seem to let go of. Maybe it's the scale of it. A predator so large, so powerful, that it makes every apex predator alive today look almost modest by comparison. Or maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe it's that Tyrannosaurus rex represents something we rarely get to witness firsthand, proof that nothing is permanent. Not even the most dominant creature evolution has ever produced. It ruled for 2 million years. Modern humans have existed for roughly 300,000. We are still, by every measure, the newcomers. 66 million years after its extinction, Tyrannosaurus rex is still doing exactly what it always did best, commanding every room it stands in. The story of Tyrannosaurus rex is the story of extremes. The fastest myths, the slowest truths. A 2 million year reign ended in a single afternoon. And it's just one story, out of thousands, still buried beneath our feet. If you want to keep digging them up with us, this is only the beginning. Subscribe and turn on notifications because we're just getting started. And down in the comments, tell us, which dinosaur do you want us to bring back to life next? Because the truth, it turns out, is always stranger than the myth.